To watch more Bhagavad Gita discourse videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Sukha is the most important pursuit, not most important, that is almost the only pursuit of life. And because it is by nature, as long as the Sukha is depending on our sense organs and our gain, loss, etc., it will never be permanent, because you cannot have continuous. Suppose by nature also it is not so. Suppose you like ice cream. You will like to take 1, 2, 3 maximum. Suppose I force on to you the 20 ice creams you have to take, what will happen to you? You will not be able to enjoy. That is the nature of the Indriya Sukha. After it needs to a certain extent, if you pursue it further, then it causes dukkha directly. Not only that, if you get attached to, cling to some Indriya Sukha, when you are not getting, then also you will suffer. As say in Tamasika case, it is addiction for smoking, addiction for drug, etc. If you don't get, it is a tremendous dukkha. They get mad almost. In the modern days, the drugs which are going on, if it is withdrawn, then the person will be unmanageable. They get so wild about it. So any such Indriya Sukha, it leads to dukkha. Initially it is very good. Good means you like it. But very soon it results in dukkha. So by its very nature it is like that the sukha, we want to remain always in sukha, but because of our delusion that it cannot happen like that, it is by its nature coming and going, it has to be interspersed with dukkha. We have to withstand the dukkha also. Now sukha becomes more and more permanent as we proceed inward. That means another way of thinking is that we can say we have some lower tendencies and some elevating tendencies. That is, our nature is such that we are born with some lower tendencies, means we become slave to the sense organs, the sense perceptions. That is the Indriya Sukha. The moment we start taking it up, start enjoying it, finally we become slave to it. Why slave to it? Because without that we get agitated, without that we cannot do anything. There is another kind of sukha which we get when we win over the lower tendencies. Suppose you are given to anger. You don't like to become angry, but you become angry. Now if somehow you can win over your anger, is it not a great sukha for that? That you have won over. Even small attraction also, that if you are attracted to something, say sweet, but you have some physical problem with taking sweet, but you are not able to give it up. When you are able to give it up, it gives the sukha of victory, the joy of victory, that I have won over my lower tendencies. And that is much more pervasive, long-lasting than the Indriya Sukha, than the Sukha, happiness got from the sense satisfaction. Even those who are children, those who are not able to get up in the morning because of idleness, nidra, alasya, etc., if they somehow practice getting up and somehow able to get up early in the morning and start studying, and when they understand that the early morning is the best period to understand things, they will get so much of joy. But they are not ready to do it. That means they are slave to their lower tendencies. But when they are able to win over their lower tendencies, there is a joy of victory, that I have won over my lower tendencies. This you can think of in any respect, it will happen. I have told so many times the ice cream episode today to the bachas, I wanted to say, but I have told them earlier also, and others also have told them. But that is very good example, that one boy the father used to take that boy to the park every day, and park there would be so many ice cream wallahs standing. So every day he would ask for an ice cream and the father would give him also. So it became his regular routine that he would enjoy the ice cream in the afternoon going for a walk with the father. So they would see the urchin boys around, poor boys, they would pick up the thrown away cup and they lick from there. In Calcutta it is very much, those days at least it was very common, that they will pick up the cup which has been thrown by others and they will lick from there. He also used to see such one urchin boy standing like that. So one day the father suggested that every day you are getting and enjoying this. This boy never gets it. Why don't you today, the whole ice cream you give it to the boy. He is licking from the thrown away cups. Why don't you give it to the boy? So that day somehow winning over his greed for the ice cream, he made that sacrifice and gave it to the boy. And when the boy was relishing, looking at that boy, that poor boy, this boy started getting a different kind of a joy. Because first of all, he has sacrificed and won over his greed for ice cream. Second is that this is the first time he is saying that he has given something and that is being enjoyed by another boy of his age or even younger or so. Now it so happened, it's not a story, it's a fact. So happened that after eating half the cup of the ice cream, that boy, the poor boy, he looked up. And a monkey came down from the tree. And this rest of the ice cream, the half cup, this boy gave it to the monkey. And the monkey started relishing it. This boy got so overjoyed that even this one cup one day he got, who never gets. See, who is richer? This boy is richer or the poor boy is richer? See, there lies the real elevation. So the poor boy who got for the first time perhaps in life a full cup of ice cream, half of it he took and the half he gave it to the monkey. This whole scene had an effect on his mind, on this boy's mind. He got so much of joy. Now naturally we have to think that what is that joy of eating the ice cream? It is sense and the vishaya, that means the object, contact between the object and the tongue, the sense organ. That is giving the joy. Unless I taste the ice cream, that joy will not be there. And as soon as the ice cream is over, within a few minutes that joy also will be there. Just thinking of the taste, I don't think anybody gets much joy. Only he may think of again getting it. That is not joy, rather it is dukkha. So it is a temporary, very short-lived joy when the object and the senses, they are coming in touch with each other. But the joy this boy got out of sacrificing the ice cream and seeing the sharing between the boy and the monkey also, that joy is not generated from the senses. It is generated from the mind. Not only that, even when you are listening to the story, don't you get lot of joy? So, this joy, whenever he would remember, he would get the joy of it also. It's a permanent kind of a joy. This is the difference between a Rajasika joy and happiness and a Sattvika happiness. Sattvika happiness is always anchored to our inmost soul. That means it is anchored to love, sharing, unaffectedness, self-seatedness, courage, etc. That is, when our buddhi is anchored to our inmost reality, all these qualities will come and the joy produced out of it will be like this. It will be a long-term, or we can say even permanent joy. And it will have a sublimating effect on us, an elevating effect on us. It will not make us slave to anything. It will make us master of the world. Do you understand this point? Generally, by the sense joy, we become slave to the world. In this joy, you will become master of the world. The more you win over your lower tendencies, your sense attractions, repulsions, etc. Even in repulsion also. Suppose you don't like a person. And every day you have to, suppose in the ashram, 2 ashramites, one does not like the other. Or in an office also. You don't like the person and you are always, you see the person, you are suffering from the dislike. Is it not? Intolerance. There is a hatred, there is an intolerance. You are suffering from that. If one day you decide that I will get over this suffering, get over this intolerance. How? By loving the person. Somehow I will at least play that I am loving him. By somehow knowing, finding out, everybody has some good qualities also. It's not that a person cannot have any good qualities. Somehow to find out some good qualities of the person and praising it, appreciating it, you start and hug the person or anything you can do. The day you are able to do it freely, you will feel so much of joy. This joy is winning over the intolerance. So everywhere when we are winning over our lower tendencies, which are generally resulting from the sense and sense perceptions, it is inward joy and it is always fulfilling, it is long lasting, it is almost everlasting also, you can say. Another example I give of the Buddha story, that he became so famous that at that time the Tantrika Acharya, they got very much annoyed with him. And one day that Tantrika came and he was abusing him. He was sitting under a tree and the man came and started abusing him left and right. Nothing was true. He was just intolerant of Buddha. So he was speaking like that. Buddha kept quiet for quite long time. Then the man got all the more agitated that I am talking to you for such a long time. You don't consider me a human being. You have become so egoistic that you don't feel like replying any of my statements. Then Buddha came out with his statement that dadatu dadatu gali galimantaha bhavanta. There is a shloka which is also assigned to Bhartrihari, but it is told in the Buddha story also. That you go on giving me abuses because you have the stock of abuses. In this world, whatever a person has, he can give only that. If a person is rich, he can give money. If a person has lot of abuses in his stock, he can give abuses. I don't have any abuse in my stock. How can I give you back any abuse? How can I return abuse you? That is why I am keeping quiet. That you are only giving me abuses. I cannot give. So what is it working there? Normally, whenever somebody is speaking to you, even if it is not wrong, in the Buddha's case it was wrong, whatever he was speaking. Even if rightly somebody speaks you something bad, you flare up and give return abuses. It is not, is it not? One day you are not able to give the reply, you will suffer so much that the right reply did not come to my tongue. Next day I will see that I am able to do that properly. So all these things go on in our mind. How is it that Buddha got so much of strength not to, that whenever we are return abusing, is it not that we have lost our self-seatedness? Whenever we are angry, that means we have lost our self-seatedness. That means we have become slave to the circumstances. Maybe it is true, maybe it is not true. In any of the cases, we should not lose the self-seatedness we have. That means we are slave to the circumstances. Now, how did Buddha keep quiet in that case? Because of his anchorage in the soul. That he doesn't bother about whatever. If there is some truth in the person saying, he will try to correct it. Suppose the person is saying rightly, some fault he is finding out. The jnani will try to correct it or see that have I hurt him that he is speaking like that, I should not hurt anybody. So that there also some correction is needed. Otherwise, if it has no truth in it, why should I worry about it? It is his business. He has abused. It is up after all. It's his business. I don't bother about it at all. So naturally, maximum what I can do, I may be concerned that why is he so agitated? Can I somehow calm him or give him some happiness by saying something? That will be the jnani's attitude. This is how we say that becoming master of the world. That means whatever the situation is, you are not slave to the circumstances. You have your own self-seatedness in every situation. So this is what the Sattvika Buddhi and Sattvika Dhriti will do. So you see the causal relation, that Sattvika Buddhi will result in Sattvika Dhriti, provided the Sattvika Buddhi makes you pursue the whatever sadhana is necessary for Sattvika Dhriti. Normally it will, If you have developed Sattvika Buddhi, then that will say that you take Sattvika Ahara. Ahara means not only food, all kinds of inputs, so that you develop Sattvika Dhruti. Now, Sattvika Dhruti will automatically take you to Sattvika Sukha. The result will be Sattvika Sukha. So, we will read the shlokas and again come back to it. This is the summary of the discussion we are going to have. Open 36th verse. Sukham tvidanim tribidham.
Sukham tvidanim trividham.
Tu idanim becomes tvidanim. Sukham tvidanim trividham.
Sukham tvidanim trividham.
Shrinu me bharatarshabha.
Shrinu me bharatarshabha.
Abhyasat ramate yatra.
Abhyasad ramate yatra.
Dukkhantam cha nigacchati.
Dukkhantam cha nigacchati.
Yattadagre vishamiva.
Yattadagre vishamiva.
Pariname amritopamam.
Pariname amritopamam.
Tat sukham satvikam proktam.
Tat sukham satvikam proktam.
Atma buddhi prasadajam.
Atma buddhi prasadajam.
See, the first line is Sukham tu idanim trividham shrinume bharatashava. 3 kinds of sukha I am going to tell you. Now, the next 3 lines are all referring to the Sattvika Sukha. That is a little unusual. The second line of this sloka also goes under the Sattvika Sukha. Abhyasat ramate yatra dukkhantam cha nigacchati. That is, this Sattvika Sukha is such that by practice, by pursuing, it will not be our inborn quality. To win over the lower tendencies, you need some discipline, some practice. And when you have undergone the discipline, then you revel in that. This is true everywhere. Suppose you want to enjoy the music. You can listen to it, okay, but if you want to sing or if you want to play some instrument or so, without undergoing a very hard tapasya of austerity or practice or rehearsal, can you enjoy the music properly? It needs a long discipline. Just to produce the proper shruti, the correct shruti, it takes so much of effort and time. But when you have won over it, then you really revel in that, in singing, in that you get, actually it is the discipline, it is not a bondage. When you are pursuing the discipline, it is not a bondage. Pursuing the discipline, you are getting the freedom in the world of music. It's a greater freedom. As we often say that for the children also, suppose initially he would not like to study, even the letters he would not like to learn, because at that time their sukha is in playing. At that age, the sukha is in playing. So you have to force the child to sit and study. So it is a very hard discipline for him. It is almost like poison. But if he undergoes the discipline after a few years, when he is reading all the storybooks he likes, then what is it? Was the previously not studying was a greater freedom? Or now after studying, the freedom into the world of literature he got is a greater freedom? So this is how the Sattvika happiness works. It is not in the higher spiritual sense right now. We are talking about little, but that also every time, right from birth, we have to win over our lower tendencies which is given to sensory joy and all. And when we undergo the discipline, we have the greater freedom. Even about the sportsman, if you don't undergo a very hard discipline, you will not be able to play well. You will really get the joy of playing only when you have undergone the discipline. Otherwise, you will not. So, abhyasat ramate, it's very important. Abhyasa means practice by undergoing a discipline. Abhyasat ramate means he revels. That means by practice, by undergoing the discipline, he revels in that. Ramate yatra. Dukkhantam cha nigacchati. That ends the dukkha corresponding to that. Suppose you had not learned the literature, the grammar and the language, then would it not be a real dukkha for you that so many people are reading, they are studying, even the newspaper you will not be able to read. Everywhere you will be obstructed by the bondage. So in any field, this discipline, following the discipline, when you are getting the freedom in that, it is actually ending a dukkha and it is giving you a sukha, which is a long-term sukha also. It is not a sensory sukha just. Although the music you are hearing with the senses, but the real joy you are getting is within, in the mind level, in the emotional level, in the intelligence level also. This is true of even studying anything. Suppose in our college studies or postgraduate studies, some subjects are very tough. So people will generally avoid those things. Statistical mechanics. Nobody will try to, and they will think how I can circumvent that by answering other questions. Nobody would take the hardship to understand the subject properly and go through it. So it is a bondage that you are not able to understand, and somehow you in the exam you are trying to mug up by going this way, that way, etc. But suppose you put the effort of understanding the subject, it will take a few days' effort. Maybe you have to concentrate, you have to take some other books, read here and there to actually go into it. And once you have discovered the secret of it and you have understood the subject, then you have a great freedom in that. As statistical mechanics I am saying because that happened in my case. All our friends would be avoiding the statistical mechanics. So that was a challenge for me. I went to British Council, this library, that library, collected all the books. For 15 days I did not go to the college and I was only studying that and making some notes to understand it in a simpler manner and all. By the end of about 2 weeks or so, I felt like almost vomiting. It was so much of an effort, morning to night, always statistical mechanics, that I got fed up of it. But by that time I have already digested it. Maybe it was over digestion, so vomiting was there physically, not mentally. And then it became that so easy for me, any questions coming up in the class and all, it was very easy for me. So all started coming to me for understanding statistical mechanics. But I am saying that we have to pursue the discipline. What is the technique there? It is a subject which has been designed by some people have put their thought. So we have the capability of going into that thought and understanding it. So this is the meaning of abhyasat ramate yatra. Dukkhantam cha nigacchati. Then he says, yat tat agre vishamiva. Pariname amritopamam. This sattvika sukha, initially it may be almost like poison. That tad agre vishamiva. It is initially almost like poison. Suppose the boy who wants to play, if you put him into study, initially it is vishamiva for him. Or even for us also to really get into a very difficult subject, it is really torturing. You will not be able to concentrate easily and go into it. Any such discipline, initially pursuing the discipline is quite difficult. So it is agre vishamiva, but pariname amritopamam. At the end it is nectarine. What? Because you have won over your bondage, you have won over your obstructions, you have won over your obstacles, be it some sensory preference, prejudice, be it some mental preference, prejudice, all these things you have to win over. It's a joy of victory. So there you will have, it is nectarine in the end. This is the nature of sattvika sukha. As I said, initially the boy must have felt difficulty in sacrificing the ice cream. But when he did the sacrifice and saw the joy in that, naturally it was an amritopamam, it is nectarine. So, tat sukham satvikam proktam. That sukha is called satvika sukha. Atma buddhi prasadajam. Atma buddhi prasadajam. That means, Atma buddhi means it is always anchored within, in our inmost level. And from there comes the placidity. The prasada, the sense of blissfulness or the placidity, it comes right from there. So it is not generated by the senses. The sattvika sukha, it is not generated by the senses. It is generating from our anchorage in our soul dimension, our inmost dimension. That is, you can, so many times we have said, what are the soul dimensions? If it is love, loving, universal love. It is unshakiness, stability, the sthita buddhi. It is untaintedness. That means not getting affected by anything at all, not getting touched by anything people are doing to you. So all these things are Atma Buddhi. Atma Buddhi. From there the prasada is generated, not from the senses.
Join our live event on the 10th, 11th and 12th of October 2020. Register at www.globalgeeta.org.